more talented teams. In my estimation, and I don't think that's just me being, Mr. Negative Press guy. Every single night you're going up against the Matthew Shanes and the Phil Forsbergs and the Rantanens and the Landeskog's and the Nathan McKinnons and the Mark Scheifele's and the Blake Wheelers and the Patrick Liney's and the Kyle Connors, and it goes on and on and on. Every single night you look at the roster that they're playing, and you're potentially playing people that are much more skilled with you. And I think that's what Bill Guerin is going to have to try to figure out here is how does he get this team on par talent-wise, youth-wise, energy-wise than a lot of the opponents that they're going after every single night.
Right, and as Michael mentioned, this is coming out on a Sunday, so hopefully they are 2-2 at this time. We're here with Michael Russo of The Athletic. Let's do a little true and false for you. Let's mix it up. True or false? Bruce Boudreau will be the Wild head coach a year from now, meaning next season.
I don't know. I hate these type of questions. My heart says true. My reality probably says false. To me, if they don't make the playoffs, which I don't think they will, then a new GM almost 100% of the time is going to find himself a new coach, especially when that coach is in the last year of his contract. So I think the realist in all of us says that Bruce will not be the coach next year.
And I'll add my 2 cents into this. There's nothing Bruce Boudreau can do in this instance. I mean, he has been one of the greatest regular season coaches in NHL history. I mean, you look statistically speaking. And I love Bruce Boudreau, and I know a lot of Wild fans like him as well. I just think for Bruce Boudreau, you don't want to be in a situation where you're rebuilding with the team. Go coach a team that's ready to make that next step kind of thing. So that's just my opinion. Next one. The Wild, go.
In a lot of ways, I'm sure Bruce deep down, if he was going to get fired, which almost wishes that it was after last season. So, there were 5 or 6 great coaching jobs available last summer, and one being the Buffalo Sabres, which I think he would have been a shoo-in for. And so that's the thing that I'm sure is always nerve-wracking for Bruce is that, he's coming into a situation where you knew he'd have a bullet right, or a gun right to the head and potentially that bullet going through. And right now, it's looking like, it's looking, not to keep the analogy going, but it's looking like that gun's starting to get cocked here. I mean, it just has this bad feel. And, and that's why I think he knew that coming in without an extension, that immediately the pressure was going to be on, the hot seat talk, and, publications like The Athletic, who's going to be the first coach fired, and, all the betting online, there's prop bets out there listing odds for coaches to be fired, and he's one of the front runners. And so, Bruce knew this was going to happen. So it's like, if you're not going to give him an extension, I'm sure, he's never told me this, but I'm sure deep down he almost would have preferred, hey, just then pull the plug last summer and allow him to go on with his life. Now, all of a sudden, you're potentially coming into a situation where he's a lame duck coach, dead man walking, and he's going to have to sit there and worry about his future.
True or false, Jason Zucker will be dealt at the trade deadline? I'm sure we had this question the last 10 years of your career.
Yeah, I would say false, although, again, as I told you, I don't love these questions because I always feel like I have to give a caveat or explain, but I think false. He controls a little bit of it. I know teams are still probably calling Bill Guerin, trying to gauge whether or not Zucker could be had. The Wild obviously need goal scorers and they need centers, and Jason's one of the top assets on this team. But right now I think that it's probably false.
Okay, let's shift to some positive stuff, and Matt Dumba being one of them. He was on pace to score 30 goals last year until he was injured. The Wild definitely missed his energy, creativity, and playmaking for sure. Do you think that this is a player capable of getting to 25, 30 goals as a defenseman?
I do think so. I think that he's got so many weapons in his arsenal that if he stays healthy, the sky's the limit. He's one of, I think, 17 defensemen in NHL history. I have the list. I had NHL Stats put it together for me. That is before his age 25 years, scored 4 straight double-digit goal seasons. And last year could have been absolutely record-breaking the way that he started with 12 goals in 32 games. So, he's just got all the talent, and he absolutely hammers that puck. He could pick his spots. He's got multiple different types of shots. I absolutely think that he has the ability to get 25.
Let's get into the GM, as you mentioned. We're here with Michael Russo of The Athletic. Bill Guerin. What is he like? What do you think he'll try and change here? And what kind of presence does he bring to this franchise? I know when Paul Fenton was fired, everyone read the article that you posted that it didn't have, that not ethical, it didn't have that right feel having him around in the organization. There was some stuff that was going on. What's the change here with Bill?
Well, I mean, one is that, inside the organization, I think a lot of people are just in a lot better spirits, not just players and coaches, but people in the front office throughout the organization. The way that they're being treated, the respect level that he brings on an everyday basis, his personality and things like that. It's so far to deal with, as a beat writer to a GM perspective, he's been absolutely sensational, to deal with. He's accessible. He's affable. He's the type of guy that you can go up to and just shoot the breeze with and learn some things and walk away and feel like you know a little bit more and not just even stuff that you need to work right or anything like that, just that you actually felt like you learned a little bit about the game chatting with him. In terms of the job that he's going to do, obviously, it's too early to say. He has not been given the opportunity yet, with only being hired a month before the season, if that, a month before training camp, to put his own fingerprints on this roster. At some point, he'll begin to do that. But I think he's still in that that analyzing stage where he's trying to look and figure out exactly what he's got with this organization. He's got to be given that latitude by fans and the media to really take his time and figure out exactly what he wants to do. He's a smart hockey guy, so he's going to recognize, I think, the inefficiencies of this team, the fact that they lack a goal game breaker, the fact that they lack size, the fact that they lack speed. I think that he's going to realize that he has to go out and probably do some significant stuff to try to get this team on par with a lot of the other teams in the conference.
No, that sounds good. It sounds like he's got the right mindset then, and you basically named off everything that you need to win games. They don't have a lot of speed. They don't have a lot of physicality. They don't have a lot of game breakers, so that was kind of funny. Let's look at the young guns really quick. Kevin Fiala, Jordan Greenway, Luke Cunnin, Ryan Donato. Out of those, is it just collectively, because I'm trying to look at this season and how fans should approach it, right? And I think there's a lot of people that don't think that they're going to make the playoffs. And that's okay, I feel, if these guys like Greenway, Fiala, and Cunnin make strides this season. Do you agree with that?
Yeah. Obviously you'd love them to do both and make the playoffs as well. But there's no doubt that you want to see major significant steps by at least 3 or 4 of the guys that you just mentioned. Eriksson Ek has probably been the best of the bunch right now. Fiala is sort of, I think we're all forgetting that Fiala is probably 10 days behind all his teammates here. Showed up to camp really late because of the work visa issue. And so he's still trying to find himself. And we've seen some good stuff in Nashville. We've seen some really bad stuff in Denver. And so we'll see tonight, after a couple more days of practice here in Winnipeg, how he can play. He's obviously got the speed, the skill. It's just a matter of putting it together and protecting the puck more because he is a absolute turnover machine. Donato has been so far a disappointment this season. I still believe in him, but he is in the doghouse right now. There's no doubt about it, and he's going to have to work his way out of it. He's going to have to score a lot more than he does to get significant growth here from the coach, because the coach doesn't have a lot of faith in him in his own zone right now. Cunnin and Greenway expect more from. Greenway just not nearly as aggressive or assertive as I would like. I think that he needs to go and use his big frame to protect the puck better, go in and clobber bodies, get to the front of the net, use that, good shot that we saw last year. Last season we saw a couple goals from between the hash marks. Let's see if he can do that. And Cunnin, same thing. I think they expect a lot more from him. This was the year that he was supposed to make a big step. Training camp didn't have a lot of points at all, and same thing so far in the first 2 games of the season.
Last one for you, Michael, and we're here with Michael Russo of The Athletic. You can follow him on Twitter at Russo Hockey. What's the update with this Russian kid, Kaprizov? He's got 10 goals, 8 assists through 15 games in Russia. Are we going to see this guy make the transition to the NHL anytime soon? What are you hearing? What's going on with him?
Yeah, I think so. I've talked to Kaprizov's agent probably... I was joking about it with him a couple days ago, how often I keep on bothering him about Kaprizov. I've got no indications from his agents that Kaprizov's not coming here next year. Billy Guerin's going to go out there November 30th, meet with him for 3 or 4 days. Again, try to make very clear that how valued this guy is. Obviously, he's now dealing with his third GM that he's meeting, so that's got to be a little alarming to him. But look, if he wants to play in the NHL, it's got to start with the Minnesota Wild. So I've got to think that he's going to come next year, and Billy wants to get ahead of it to ensure that there's no chance of him signing a potential extension in the KHL.
Awesome. Thanks again, Michael Russo of The Athletic. Subscribe to The Athletic. He obviously one of the best writers in all of sports. Thanks again, Mike, and good luck in that snowstorm. Hopefully the Wild can get their first win of the year.
Yep. Thanks, Steven.
As always, big thanks to my good buddy Michael Russo. We will definitely go out in New York and have some dinner when you're out here if you're listening to it past this. Okay, so let's shift to the Whiners and Shiners of the football weekend, and I twisted this segment a little because there's a couple guys that I really was putting into consideration for my Shiners, and I kind of went outside the realm of football. I know the theme is Whiners and Shiners of Week 6 or Week 5 of the college football season or the NFL season, but I needed to stretch and open up my arms to other athletes because there was a couple of them that, had to be in on this list. Okay, here we go. First, Whiner of the week goes to Richard Sherman. Richard Sherman, who, it doesn't matter what he does. He's going to always let you know about it. And you get to a point where Richard Sherman, is he very good anymore? He was great in Seattle, but there's a reason why they let him go. They didn't want to re-sign him. He has a big mouth. If you have a big mouth like that, you better be damn good. And San Francisco is 4-0, 5-0. I know they're undefeated. But what he did this weekend was such a immature. He lied. He straight up lied. A guy that went to Stanford. I'm calling into question his integrity. You're going to sit here and you're going to lie and whine about Baker Mayfield. First, you're going to whine about him, which, whatever. If you're not a Baker Mayfield fan, you know what? Go kick rocks if you don't like it. I'm a Baker Mayfield guy. I know he sometimes talks a little bit too much, but Richard Sherman whining after this game, he didn't shake my hand. He didn't, that is a respect thing in the NFL when you do the coin toss. And the first thing I thought when he said that was, man, Baker would do that after what happened at Oklahoma when he played at Kansas? Because if you don't recall, Baker Mayfield, his senior year, was playing at Lawrence, Kansas, and he was going to flip the coin. They were at the coin toss. All the captains went up there, and he reached out his hand to shake their hand, Kansas' hand. They didn't shake it. And then he ended up, grabbing his crotch and having that whole thing on film, and that ended up kind of biting him. I guess it didn't because he ended up getting picked up, number 1 overall. But the bottom line is Baker Mayfield complained about that when that happened to him at Kansas. And now, why would he do that in the NFL? So when Sherman said that, I said, wow, Baker really did that? And then the video surfaces of Baker Mayfield clearly reaching his hand out and dabbing up Richard Sherman. So I'm like, what? Whoa, what is that? So you're going to whine about Baker Mayfield, about his talking, and you're going to whine about him not shaking your hand when he did shake your hand. That's not cool. Richard Sherman, welcome to the club. You're my whiner of the week. All right, let's go to the Shiners. Let's do the positive here. And as I mentioned, we're going to reach outside of football, bring in a baseball guy. You know what? Shiner of the week is Howie freaking Kendrick, 36 years old. I watched this game. Dodgers were up 3-1 against the Nationals. Clayton Kershaw comes in, completely spits the bit. The Nationals tied up 3-3. Top of the 9th inning, the Nats load up the bases. The 36-year-old Howie Kendrick comes up to bat. Howie steps in. And this guy's old. I remember Howie Kendrick when I was younger. That's how old the guy is. Howie Kendrick puts one into deep center field, and it just keeps carrying and carrying. And Howie Kendrick nails a grand slam. 7-3, breaks the game open, puts the Nationals in the NLCS. It is just unbelievable. congratulations to Howie Kendrick. You are my Shiner of the Week. You knock out the 106-win LA Dodgers. That